Welcome back, everybody. This is our ongoing boot camp series for combat by Compass Games and Ross Mortel. I'm Cliff, aka Wee Beasties, and today I want to continue by looking at the readiness states that the enemy characters can take in combat. Sorry I've been away for a little bit. Life cropped up there for a while. It's still cropping up, but let's get back to work. I'd like to get through this series, and I'm planning on doing a few videos in fairly rapid succession to get kind of caught back up. So in combat, the enemy characters can exist at various states of readiness, and there's 4 terms that are used that used to confuse me a little bit how they played together. We have alert versus waiting, and prepared versus unprepared. And what we're looking at here is the combat module in Vassal by Greg Amos. We're going to cover both Nigel's and Greg's modules in Vassal later in this series. I like this one in this case because Greg's engineered in a special tag where you can tag which characters are unprepared or prepared, and that's not really available in Nigel's module. So we're using Greg's today. They're both good in their own way, and they're actually going to get blended together, as I understand it, in Volume 2, because Greg is using Nigel's module as a base for Volume 2, and then adding all of his goodness on, so we're going to get the best of both worlds. It's going to be awesome. That should be out in July, just by the way. Okay, so alert versus waiting. Alert soldiers, like this guy up here at 2804, are looking around. They're aware that something is afoot, and they are actively looking for an opportunity to engage and can receive an order. Whereas waiting soldiers, well, they might be prepared or unprepared, are not getting orders. They're just waiting for somebody to tell them what to do. So you got the ones that are alert, they're ready to go, ready to take an order, waiting, are sitting around. They've got to be told what to do. Prepared versus unprepared has to do with how easy access the soldiers have to their weapons and to their fighting position. A unprepared soldier is pretty disorganized. They might have their rifle strung over their shoulder, their ammunition not at hand. They might be away from their weapon station. They're going to take a while to get firing. Versus prepared, who have their weapon at the ready and can respond more quickly. So we can have basically 4 different states, because these 2 things, alert and waiting versus prepared and unprepared, they can play together and create basically a 2x2 matrix. So we have 4 possible states that the soldiers can be in. The most common is probably alert and prepared, which we normally don't have anything on, a regular soldier on the field that we're familiar with, like a 2806 here, is alert and prepared. We don't have to tag them in any other way because that's the normal state. These soldiers are ready to take their commands and execute commands like normal. This is the active state for soldiers. The least prepared state is unprepared and waiting, like 1905 over here. These soldiers are going to take a while to get going because they're waiting and they're not at their weapon station. The first thing that's going to happen is they're going to have to go from a waiting state to an alert state. They're going to have to become alerted to the presence of an enemy. That's going to take a impulse, so that something's going to happen. They're going to get alerted in that impulse, but they're still unprepared, so they can't take an order. In the next impulse, they will go to alerted and unprepared. There they will be able to take an order because they're now alert, But because they're unprepared, they won't be able to execute that order until the third impulse. So it takes them a long time to get going, which, as a friendly soldier, gives you a chance to sneak up on them and ambush them. So it's best not to alert them unless you have to. So all of this matrix, you go from the upper left, waiting unprepared, down to alert and prepared in the lower left, and then finally over to your active state, alert and prepared. Sometimes soldiers will be waiting and prepared. So this guy in 2305 is waiting and prepared. They have their weapons at the ready, but they're waiting for an order. As soon as they're alerted, they immediately drop down into alert and prepared. They take their order and execute it as soon as possible. They don't have to wait around. So that's how the four play together. It's easier for me to visualize what's going on by considering this matrix and the direction that things go. It wasn't until I did this that I really fully understood this. Anyway, so the question then becomes, how do waiting soldiers become alerted? And in the rules, there are 8 ways listed. The first way to consider is the soldier has to have a line of sight to a spotted friendly character when they're activated for the impulse. So right now, all of the soldiers on this board do not have an LOS to poor Private Temple. Private Temple is hidden right now, and if he were to somewhat foolishly move up to 2006, and we'll just take move off of him. Now he's moved up there. Now he's an LOS to these soldiers. But he's not spotted. That is not sufficient to activate or to alert these soldiers. He has to be spotted. So as these soldiers become available, as they're activated in their impulse, because they will have an initiative value, an initiative card, and they'll come up on their impulse. They can try to spot. They don't have any other orders, but they can try to spot. So let's say that 1905 tries to spot Temple in the woods and succeeds. So, is that enough to alert him? Not necessarily, because, well, we don't know if it's a real soldier or not. So we have to peek at it. So let's flip him over. And oh, he's a dummy. Dummies are eliminated. So we can just send that back and get rid of this. Alright, let's go over here. This guy is unprepared and waiting. He spots. Let's say he passes his. So we flip him over to see if he's real. He is real and he's a leader. Well, we don't have to keep him. He's not spotted. We just had to check. He would spot. He spots him. He's flipped now to spotted. Because he's spotted, this gets flipped to alerted. Now he's alert and unprepared, but he cannot take an order. Up here, now this soldier in 2305 has LOS to a known enemy soldier. He immediately becomes alerted. Flip that over, and he can take an order. And he would get whatever. We would draw a card and give him an order. We do not give this guy in 2306 an order until the next impulse. So that's how spotting a friendly character works out. A second way to activate soldiers is if a weapon is discharged within 10 hexes. So this guy over here at 2804 doesn't have LOS to Temple. But if Temple were to, let's say he has spotted these guys now. Let's spot them up. Let's say Temple has spotted them. I know we got a leader, and now we got Roth. Let's say Temple takes a shot at Roth. then this soldier, who is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 away, would become alerted. Well, he is alerted now. If you were not alerted, and Temple takes a shot, you've got this shot fired. It shows how far to alert. So if I back off a bit, see, that is the shaded region is where we get alerted soldiers. That shot would alert everybody that I have on the board. Alright, I'm going to take that back off. So, discharging a weapon, 10 hexes will alert a lot of soldiers. So you don't want to shoot unless you have to, unless you're in position. Get in position first. Try to hide best you can. Try to ambush these unwary soldiers. Third way, grenade, rifle grenade, or artillery round within 5 hexes. Seems counterintuitive that something big and loud like a grenade, rifle grenade, or even like an artillery round would have to be closer than a rifle shot. But the thinking is in the game that explosions are just sort of random events and not really necessarily associated with an infantry assault. Every once in a while a mortar round's going to land around you. You just get kind of used to it. As long as it's not landing on you, it's not within 50 yards, 50 meters. It's just background noise. Whereas a rifle shot, the crack of a rifle means that there must be a soldier nearby, and that puts you on alert. That's the thinking. So if Temple were to fire a rifle grenade, I don't really have him in a position where he can do that right now, but if he dropped a rifle grenade within 5 hexes, or if a 81 millimeter mortar dropped on 2605 here, it would alert everybody because it would be within 5 hexes. Another way is if an enemy character within 3 hexes is hit by fire, even if they can't see where the fire came from. So if Temple shot and hit Gunther and Roth did not have LOS, and for some reason Temple was out like 12 hexes or something, he took a long shot and hit Gunther, so he's not close enough that his rifle alerted Roth. The fact that Gunther got hit would activate Roth. Another thing is a melee attack within 3 hexes. So if Temple moved up and got into melee with Gunther, then Roth, who is within 3 hexes, would be alerted to that scuffle and become alerted. If Roth was not alert and Gunther were to enter his hex, then Roth would become alert because they would talk to each other within the hex. Even though they might not be directly on each other, they're within that 10-meter area. They're like, hey, heads up, there's people around here. At the end of the turn, there's also a couple of ways to get alerted. So we have when the soldier gets activated, that's, hey, do they have LOS? They have within the friendly turn, and within the enemy turn, and at the end of the turn. So when they get activated, LOS. Within the enemy turn would be if the enemy character moves into the same hex with him. Within the friendly turn would be all the firing, the grenades, the artillery, the melee attacks. Theoretically could happen within either turn. And at the end of the enemy turn, if there's an alert enemy character within 3 hexes. So let's say that this guy is over here and he's waiting, he's not alert, but now he's within 3 hexes. It's the end of the turn. He's within 3 hexes of alert Gunther. He will be alerted then. So then we just flip that to alert. At the end of the enemy turn, if we are within the leadership rating of an alert leader, that would also work. So here are leadership ratings 1. Roth is within 1. At the end, he's both within 3 hexes of a alerted character and within the leadership rating of the leader, so he would get alerted. At that point, he'd be able to take a regular command. Alerted unprepared, he's going to have to go through a little bit of waiting. So those are the basic ways to get alerted. At first I thought, well, gee, getting shot at should also alert you. But if you're getting shot at, then you must by definition be within LOS of a friendly soldier because they're shooting at you. So it falls under that. So while I thought there was an exception, there's really not. So this is the basic ways that the readiness works for the enemy soldiers in combat. I hope that helps clarify it or at least make it a little simpler in your mind. It took me a while to fully grasp this. At any rate, that's it for today. I'm going to move on to line of sight, a very important topic, next time. I'll see you then.